Welcome back to Mission Reboot. We are continuing our conversation on digital navigation. This time we're focused on workplace etiquette. It's a big word. Etiquette, what does it mean? It's like kind of workplace norms, what's acceptable, what's not, why will some people look at you like, where's that person been? Because you're not acting or behaving in a manner that fits the culture, fits how the workplace exists. And so when we think about that, I'm going to ask you guys, what were some of the things that for you guys that when you step back into the workplace, that was different? I know for me, years ago, if you were at work and you even received a personal phone call, that was a big to do. People would look at you like, why are you
really?
taking a Josh like,
Yeah.
yeah, the dark ages,
Yeah,
Josh.
tell me more. Let me write
The
this
dark
down.
ages, back in the day, like nobody wanted you to take a
Yeah.
personal, phone call at the job.
Separation of work
Yeah.
and
And when I came home from prison, everybody had their cell phones, on there, and they were texting, and a lot of things were happening. And I didn't even know, like, okay, is this okay? Can I do this? I came home, I worked in a law firm, and I was a paralegal. Never been a paralegal before, so I'm not sure
me
why
neither.
somebody thought I should be one when I came home. But anyway, so it was kind of that. So I was just trying to figure out, like, how do I do this? I think I knew soft skills, like how to communicate and engage with people, but I struggled a little bit on, I had a probation officer who wanted to come see me,
Yeah.
and I had to keep my phone around for them, but I, was, how do you fumble around with all this stuff? So
Mm.
from
I
a
could I could tell you most workplaces have policies and procedures that as an employee you should read regarding how to use the technology, especially if you're working from home and remotely. That
Mm.
anything you say and do on their platform is their property, even if you're having a private conversation.
Mm.
So again, the warning for is don't put anything in writing
Yeah.
that you don't want to haunt you. Even in a moment of I'm upset or I'm angry or someone tries to engage you, take a breath and step back and don't hit send. I think the first etiquette thing that I learned as in terms of tech manners was do not type everything in caps because
yeah.
because people say like
because
you
you're yelling
screaming
at
at me and I'm
everybody.
like
Yeah.
no I'm hollering at you. No, this is no you really hollered at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
so
know.
you know
Lord, my daughter told me that. She's like, Mom, would you please stop putting all of your letters in caps? It means that you're screaming. I was like,
Yeah. Or angry or
yeah,
something.
or
Yeah.
exclamation points. And,
Yeah.
I'm like,
and even knowing when to use some of these emoticons to express a feeling, what you think you're
Mm.
saying and what the receiver understands that to mean. If y'all are not on the
Yeah.
same page, especially since I know I'm in another decade, um, can be very terrifying and
Yeah.
could wind you up in personnel office for something that you thought was harmless but was hurtful.
Yeah, there are two things I want to touch on with this, which is one, what you're talking about, the putting things in writing. Anything that you say, even 2 years from now, if it's in writing, I think you should expect if you write an email, you send a message that's company related on a company phone, company computer. Just imagine somebody is reading it immediately after you sent it, who it wasn't intended for, because that's the
Yeah.
reality is that at some point somebody who wasn't a part of that conversation may read it. And the other is tone. If I say, something like, if we're joking around, you're like, I'm gonna kill you, like, come on. Now if you say that like in text with tone, people would be like, oh, this person's trying to kill somebody, so the tone does not communicate over text. And that is something that, because I know that, sometimes I will just call somebody, because especially if it's something that they may not completely understand, or I know it could be taken the wrong way without the tone, then I'll just talk to them verbally and say, hey, this is.
and texting is quick messaging, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, don't think that you're going to communicate really big, major actions
Yeah,
there.
short.
Yeah. And
Like,
when you talk about tone, for me, I have this technique, which is I will write what I have to say. And because, sometimes I need to get it all out of my head, then I'll go back and smile so
oh
that I
yeah.
can
Okay.
soften up a little bit. And I add the please and thank yous
Yeah.
and, all of that stuff. And I clean it up
Yeah.
so that it's not directive. Like,
Yeah.
because I am thinking in do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I don't want even in an email for someone to read that. And, now I have to deal with, were you mad at me?
Yeah.
And all of that good stuff. So,
Or even taking your cell phone into a meeting and recording it. Depending on the state that you're in, some of that is illegal. So it's just
well,
to be
we're talking about
aware.
etiquette. So even if it's not illegal,
Yeah.
should you be doing it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
the
it,
answer
but
is no, you should not unless others are aware that you're recording. And if it's not your meeting or if you're not the boss, should you be recording without the permission? And from an etiquette perspective, the answer is no.
well, I don't have to
True.
do it, but it could also be done to me. But depending on the state, sure they can do it without telling you. Depends on where you live.
Yeah,
So
but we're talking about etiquette,
Like
and we're
etiquette,
saying
yeah.
as an employee walking in, and especially as an employee walking in with a record, if you want to be liked
well,
by your
nobody
employer,
should know that
yeah,
we're
if,
doing it.
if you want to
but
be
Yeah.
liked by your employer, if you want to get ahead, if you want to, become a part of a community and a network, that's just not an action like that. Well,
I wouldn't
yeah.
recommend it at all. I understand the
I
bottom
kick
line,
out
it's not
people.
ethical, but
Yeah.
I just to be aware, you just never know,
Yeah.
even when you're going.
Yeah. And even these AI chatbots, I feel like, that people will insert them in like Zoom or meetings
Oh,
or
yeah.
virtual meetings.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay, but I also think you should ask,
Yeah.
people, are you okay? Because maybe you're using it for your benefit.
Yeah.
But to me, I think that we've gotten away from asking, like etiquette is about to some degree being nice,
Yeah.
right? Being
Just being
social, being thoughtful. It's, it's
Yeah.
something else. It's
Other-
not just, hey, all about me and all the ways that I need to communicate and for things to work for me. But it's,
Yeah.
what will work for this group of people?
I think there's a lot of self-awareness that, like, etiquette, if you boil it down to, it's just how self-aware am I and of my actions and how that may be perceived or how you may feel if I, like if I were to cough right now and you might be like, that's gross. Like, and then you don't like me, like that's basic etiquette.
Yeah.
And the digital version, and what you guys are talking about is, now with online meetings, and because everybody can just go on their laptop and connect and I can talk to you, I could have a recording of that, and there are technologies that record all of that, translate the words into text, and then summarize and say, Josh and Teresa talked about this, and this was the action item and what they're supposed to do next. And that's, some people, they get so used to that. They don't ask, before they show up in the meeting, hey, Teresa, do you mind if I record this? And what's funny about that too, is I find that most people, even if they do record, they don't use that stuff. It's just like,
it's overwhelming.
it's just there.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I think another one, like basics, I knew a guy who he had got released, was having a really tough time getting hired. He finally got a job, and then he got let go, ultimately because he got in an argument with his boss. But I think that was the tipping point, because he had been on the phone all the time talking with his girlfriend on speakerphone while they're like in clients' houses. So there are
that's
things.
a
That's
lot.
bad etiquette.
Yeah, exactly. So there
On the job or not.
yeah. So there's things that you can do with technology. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. It's not wise. You have to think about, hey, how am I going to be perceived or interpreted? And if you're not sure, I would say just polish it up a little bit more than you think you might need to, just to be safe. And if somebody thinks like, hey, Teresa's too polished, or she's too like, perfect in her emails, that's a lot better than thinking like, hey, Teresa's just off the chain.
And if they think that, they've never gotten one of my emails.
But to the point about emails, in terms of her being perfect, is that there are also digital tools that could help you with grammar and other things to make things look more professional. Some are free, some you pay for. That you should look at them at your workplace to see what they're going to do to help you do it. And in the world that we're living now with artificial intelligence, such as transcribing and note taking, it's going to be important that you know that sometimes you talk, and if it recognizes your voice, it's recording you whether you understand it or not. I don't have an iPhone. I'm in the Android world. I know, boo, ha ha. But I hear everybody talk, hey Siri, hey this, here, that. But I've actually been on my phone having a conversation with somebody else, and the phone says, I didn't understand that. And I was like, it's because I wasn't talking to you. So be aware that even in your office place, that could be your reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Josh's point of if you coughed, that's is something that could be offensive to someone else if you didn't cover your mouth, this, that, and the other. And all we're really talking about is courtesy. And
Yeah.
that level of courtesy and respect just needs to extend to a digital world and in a workplace. And when in doubt, ask if this is something we should do and look around. If no one else is doing it, maybe you shouldn't either.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in today to Mission Reboot. We hope this episode was helpful.